Well, in the aftermath of the police killings of George Floyd in Minneapolis and now Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta, a number of stories have surfaced about retaliation against police. The media has pounced. The problem is many of them are untrue. Many of the stories that have surfaced involve food tampering, even a case of suspected intentional food poisoning.
Breaking news, a possible hate crime against police is being investigated right now at a Shake Shack in downtown Manhattan.
A couple of police officers noticed the distinct taste of bleach commingled with their milkshakes.
The unions broadcast this on Twitter all night.
And, of course, the media picked it right up. Problem is,
we learned from the chief of detectives that they believe this was a big accident and the shakes were not sabotaged.
Apparently some cleaner had been left in the machines, but there's more. An officer who is a regular customer at a McDonald's in Indianapolis claimed an employee took a bite out of his chicken sandwich before wrapping it up and handing it to him.
Sounds unbelievable, but it actually happened.
Except it didn't. After reviewing tapes and discovering no employees took a nosh, the officer suddenly remembered. He took a bite before putting the sandwich in the fridge. Then there was this. A Kansas City police officer says someone handed him this cup of coffee with a profane insult written on the outside.
A Kansas police officer has resigned after making up a story.
The stories usually start on social media, then make it on air or in print. The stash of bricks being left for rioters that turned out to be a construction site. An improvised explosive that was a candle. Protesters putting concrete mix in ice cream containers, and even a report out of Columbus, Ohio about a bus loaded with meat cleavers, axes, bats, and rocks. Yeah, because they belong to a group of hippies traveling with a juggling act. You know, Dan Lothian, one of the things that's so depressing about all of this to me is that the speed at which these kind of rumors travel, and just one blogger, one tweeter noticing that bus and sees it there, it's just like it goes on fire. And then you have, you know, the officers' police unions being complicit in it. But the bottom line depression is that it gets on the air, you know, it gets reported, radio, usually broadcast because that's quicker, and without anybody having confirmed it themselves. It sounds like the police weren't even confirming any of these incidents before they made air.
You're right. I mean, it does complicate it when you have, an official with a union, someone who you would think would have some real facts, runs with something like this. And so, therefore, you see that, you run with it.
Yep.
Journalists always have to be careful and look to multiple sources to verify something in general, but even more so nowadays. I compare it to, driving. We're supposed to drive with one foot on the gas and you move that foot over to your brake. That's the right way. Some people drive with both feet, but you drive typically with one, right?
Cab driver.
I feel that we need to drive with both feet, one on the gas and one on the brake in this instance, right? Because you're applying the gas pedal moving forward to find the facts on a story like this, but with your foot on the brake to kind of hold it back a little bit and to stop right away if, in fact, the story doesn't add up. But what I'm seeing is that because of the current climate and these stories that seem to feed into something that feels true, is that they just mash the gas pedal, run with the story, and then have to go in reverse at the very end. So we're always having to be careful here, but I think especially so now.
I'm going to steal that metaphor. Go ahead.
We have to be so careful. We are in a time where everybody's rushing to judgment as soon as they hear something and see something, and it has to go back to basics. If you're told something, especially by a non-official police source like a police union, you have to verify it. Reporters have to put their antennas up higher. They have to fine-tune their BS meters and go back to basics and verify things that are told to them. I say thank goodness that at that McDonald's where the guy got the coffee and in the Shake Shack, there were cameras inside that were quickly able to determine through police investigations and cooperated by the various fast food establishments that what happened wasn't true. So fortunately, we had a rectification or a correction of facts very quickly. And I must say that despite the fact that all of these incidents got reported widely, the mistakes that media made were reported just as widely later on. So I think that the media has, in these cases, done a little introspection and realized that they got to get it right.
Well, this goes back to the way we report on the police. I mean, when you start out in community journalism, the first thing that you do is you go to the police station every day, get the latest news, and report it. You don't verify any of it. It's a shortcut that we become accustomed to taking from the very beginnings of our career. And so what we're really seeing here is a result of that. Police officers say things, whether they're speaking as officers or as union officials or not, and we report it. And what the lesson is here is that, as Dan and Mike are saying, we need to verify everything. But to think that we are accustomed to verifying everything is just not correct. We have tended not to do that. But it looks like we better start doing it because these embarrassments are coming up over and over again.
I think there are several things happening at once here. Oftentimes we report something and then we figure we'll follow it up, but now things are happening too rapidly and we could benefit from waiting a bit longer for the full story to come out. I agree that the police are still seen as a trusted source of information, so we tend to run with what we get from them. But keep in mind, we're also in this whole Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, calls for social justice point in time where there's a lot of defensiveness going on. There's a lot of heightened emotion. There's a lot of willingness to believe that one group is under attack in retaliation for another actions. And so I think we're seeing some of that here. There's a rush to assume someone poisoned my food, someone took a bite out of my sandwich. Oh, wait, I did that myself. Oh, wait, it was an accident. And it's reported because the media does have a tendency to lean towards false equivalence. We've reported all these bad things the police have done. Oh, let's report something bad that happened to them, but let's not check first to see whether it makes sense. I think this comes back to journalists having to not just verify, but also think, to what end? Why would someone do this? Yep. Why would someone do it when it's so easy to get found out? Why would someone do it when there are cameras in the restaurant that can be checked?
And how about the fact that there was video available on Twitter and a lot of other sources, and virtually every one of those incidents, including the bricks, you could tell that was not a stash used for, anyway.
None of that makes sense. Maybe the story needs to hold.
Exactly. All right.